it is 7:01. So I think we are about good to get started. Again, I'm Christina McGrath. I'm having a little bit of a video issue, so I apologize for that. But I'm the fitness manager over at Fort Hill, and we are thrilled to have Candace Lawrence join us. I don't know if any of you were with us the last time. It was probably 4 or 5 years ago that Candace joined us for a seminar, and she's just awesome. And I really think you will enjoy listening to her and learn a lot. So I'm going to turn it over to Candace here in a minute. I'm put myself on mute so that you don't hear my dog barking or anything like that. But I wanted to thank Candace for being able to turn this around and go virtual and make this happen. So I really appreciate it. And I'm going to turn it over to you.
Well, thanks so much. Thanks, Christina. And you guys, everybody that's here, thank you so much. I know how the snow, it's first one of the season, and everybody just kind of go with it, which is one of those things that is part of watching and being very careful. We're not going to really talk about it tonight, but one of those things that is in research now coming up as one of the huge things, just as a sidelight, give everybody a minute or two more. But the big thing these days is in Chinese medicine, stress is a pathogen. They actually talk about it like it's a pathogen. And so we have to be really careful to protect ourselves. And, I don't usually watch the weather or the news. And last night I just happened to be in a room where the weather was on, and it was like, well, this was the, Snowmageddon. And it's like, okay, it's snow, it's Chicago, it's January. We're okay. We're going to make it. So anyway, welcome everybody. I am so glad you're here. And tonight we're going to talk about the intriguing title of Unlocking the Secrets to Timeless Vitality. So what in the heck does that mean? We're going to go through the top topics that I am excited about. I am a researcher through and through, and I have found a lot of new information that I was just so excited when Christina contacted me that I have a lot of new things to share. I have a master's in Oriental medicine. I have a master's in education. I'm a microbiome certified specialist. I'm a functional medicine specialist. I have various degrees from many, many different places. And everybody goes, well, what do you can't find what you really want to do. And no, it's really that when you have a passion for what you do, which is what I'm so passionate about what I do. And I have been in functional medicine for the last 26 years. So I can tell you that was really, I didn't realize it at the time, but it was really a huge point of where things really started, the research and the money really started to fall into some really interesting new categories about our health. So I have been in the Naperville area. I just came back, as a matter of fact, 1 year ago right now. I was in Seattle for 2 years, helping open up a different clinic out there. And, the Midwest is born and raised, and I came back. And I said, don't you want to stay? The state of Washington, if you haven't been there, please go. It's beautiful. But Chicago holds my heart. And they said, even in that cold? I said, yes, even in the cold. So we're going to talk about some really interesting things tonight. And the first one I want to talk about is something, and I went about my presentation in a different way, and I've been working my presentations differently than I used to. And just rather than saying, this is what you have to take, and this is da 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 da, I'm really going about it and offering a little bit of why you need to do all these different things in order to unlock timeless vitality. And so tonight we're going to talk about a couple of different topics that are near and dear to my heart. And the first thing is we're going to introduce the largest body system that not many people know about. And if you do, you really haven't heard the implications about how amazing it really is. And then we're going to talk about what to eat and not to eat, but it's not your usual suspects, because we can go, yeah, we're supposed to eat vegetables and everything else, but maybe it's giving it a little bit different twist so that we can stay interested and enthused about what we're eating. And then, of course, we are going to bring up the famous nutrients. There's some things that we just have to supplement with, because I haven't met anybody else yet, including myself, that really has that diet that is going to supplement for the things that our cells really need. And then we're going to round out our presentation with a big topic, which has really hit the headlines recently, and that is sleep, and how important it is for all aspects of our health. And especially, we're really starting to talk about brain health, dementia, Alzheimer's, and how to prevent it. And so that's what we're going to cover tonight. And the first thing I want to talk about is this new organ system. And you're like, what the heck is it? And you might have heard about it so far. It's called the fascia. Now, can you see everything? Everybody can see everything on my screen, okay?
We can see it all perfect.
Okay, wonderful. I just wanted to make sure. So you say, yes, I've heard about fascia, but it is such an incredible thing. And when I was in Cadaver Lab, this is how pertinent this is. That was a couple years ago, but we used to take the fascia off, which is this body system now, and discard it. It wasn't looked at as anything other than kind of gets in the way. No one had any idea how important and how integral this whole system is to our bodies. And when we get to this little introduction, you're going to say, holy cow. So the fascia, it's a coating, so to speak. It's a web-like collagen-based coating that coats, yes, it coats every muscle, but it coats our bones. It coats down to every cell. Everything in our body has fascia around it. Now, the interesting thing is that all of our internal organs have it. Everything has this fascia all around it. And so those of you that I'm putting a big assumption out there that everyone is part of the fitness center, so fascia plays a big role and should be a discussion when you're working out. Because if the fascia is tight or knotted or not moving as well as it can, well, then your whole functioning is slowed down, all of your body systems, because now we know the fascia houses part of our lymphatic system, works into the fascia, our structural strength and flexibility. We have an idea about that the fascia is integral in that, but it also is part of our neurological system, or our electrical system in our body are all interconnected in that fascia. So if your fascia is up and humming and feeling great, then your whole structure, everything's more mobile, everything works better. And so these are all things that have come to light really within the last like five years. We have part of the circulatory system is in the fascia. Everything is basically based in the fascia. If it's not based in the microbiome, it's in the fascia. So when we look at our lymphatic system specifically, the lymph of our body is basically our drainage system. And so when the lymph cleans out our whole system, specifically even at night in our brains, we didn't know this until recently either, then the fascia system moves because the lymphatic system doesn't have a pump of its own. So to get rid of our toxins, the lymphatic system relies heavily on a very fluid and a very moving fascia system. And it's one of those things that once you realize, okay, I have this big body system that needs really some care that we didn't even know we had before. And so that's why I'm starting out my presentations now talking about the fascial system, because then it makes more sense. Like, these are the nutrients that you need to take to make your body healthier. These are the foods that are going to make everything feel better. So the fascia, though, especially, we say it, oh, as we age, the fascia gets tighter and tighter. Well, it doesn't necessarily have to, but there's some major causes of what makes the fascia stiff. It should be nice and fluid and almost like, I call it wet saran wrap. It should be nice. And this is actually a picture of fascia in the body. And so you can see it's this web-like structure that holds everything together. So there's a couple things that will definitely harm the lymphatic system and technically all these other body systems too. And one of them is, the new thing is limited physical activity. And, we've heard the sitting is the new smoking. So if you figure your body, when you're sitting in your lazy boy or you're sitting at your desk for too long, and your body, this is your upper body and this is your legs. And then when you try to get up and somebody goes, oh, I'm so stiff. Well, yes, you are, because your fascia is actually starting to form into that shape. And so when you get up, that fascia, again, is like almost like unwrapping saran wrap. And you hope that you have enough hydration and enough nutrition that it bounces back. One other thing that can really be a discussionary topic with how healthy our fascia is scarring and injuries. So, think about this whole big baggy web system all over your body, and you might have a scar up here from a shoulder surgery. Well, if you do that and you make a wad like a scar up on your sweater or your shirt, you can see where it pulls across your whole body. And so that's why sprained ankles, a sprained ankle on the right side of your body can affect your left shoulder, or vice versa. A lot of surgery scars. And so I really encourage people to start having, there's scar therapy. You can actually soften your scars with wheat germ oil or vitamin E lotion. So it's very important to not only start adding more nutrition and hydration, but also to pay attention to scars in order for this beautiful body system to work as well as it can. So one of the big things that you see here is dehydration and poor nutrition. And we're going to talk about hydration as being so important to our bodies. And the equation that has come up as being the acceptable one in research is 1 ounce of water for every, half your body weight in ounces of water. So if you weigh 150, for example, you should be shooting for 75 ounces of water a day. Now, that doesn't mean to just chug it. The best idea is that you drink it throughout the day so that you're not like unhydrating your body, you're just helping it. And no, coffee does not count as hydration. I can't tell you how many people, well, I drink 5 cups of coffee, so I'm almost there. For every caffeinated ounce of fluid you drink, which can be, it can be a Gatorade, it can be green tea, whatever else, you should add that much water back into your whole body and what you think about for your day. And then some people will say, well, I get up too many times during the night then. And I say, so you'll have some doctors, even the old school doctors, and they'll say, how do you sleep? And somebody will say, well, I don't sleep very well. I have to get up and go to the bathroom a couple of times a night. And they'll actually say, quit drinking water at 6 o'clock at night. And here's my caveat. If you are stopping drinking water, as your body systems, I call it the street cleaners, are starting to come out, and they come out the most and clean out all of your cells and everything else at night, and your kidneys and your liver are your top organs of elimination and cleanling and getting everything cleaned out, how can they function at their top if you're not drinking enough water? So, okay, you get up a couple times during the night. I'd rather that than have you sleep with all these toxins in your system. Fascia, again, it's the hydration. It keeps it elastic. We love water in any form. So there's a couple physical body fixes that you can do with this fascia. We can do foam rolling. You know, you see so many people at the gym, and this is another sidelight, but you know, you see those people and they're on the foam roller and they're laying on their side and they're going, you know, and they look like they're in real pain. I will tell you, listen to me, you cannot roll out your IT band. It is like this. It is so hard. What you want to do is you want to go there's a part of the quad that is next to the IT band in the front, and it goes under the IT band and it is in the back. Or you want to hit the other two, there's 4 muscles in the quad. And so you want to hit the other 2 big ones that are this way, and there's another one up here. The IT band, it's you can lay on that all day and terrorize yourself. It isn't going to stretch. It is a very immobile piece of our anatomy. So stretch everything else, stretch your gastrocs, stretch your feet, go on a little ball and stretch those. Don't go lay on that poor IT band and terrorize yourself. Then there's decompression. We've all seen now like cupping and pinch rolling. That will also really help. If this is, you know, massage, we love massage. And then of course, the big thing that I really encourage people to do is stretching. So you're getting an idea about this fascia, and that's one of my first topics is how important it is. And this is the newest research that's out there about something that you can really make a difference with, significant difference, really quickly. And I'm so excited about that. So overall then, what are we going to do about how we feed the fascia and how we feed our bodies? Let's talk about some foods to eat. I'm sorry, I jumped them. I got excited. Our top nutrients. One of the number one, and you're going to say, well, that's an odd thing to start with, is magnesium. Magnesium is essential for over 300 different chemical cascades in the body. And now this is magnesium glycinate or citrate. Our newest sweetheart on the block is threonate, but magnesium threonate is more significant for brain tissue. But our 2 big ones that are going to cause impact on our wellness and our skeletal system are magnesium citrate and glycinate. There's another one called orotate. There's another one called oxide. Now, magnesium oxide, it will not be absorbed by your body. And so if you have a magnesium blend and you look at the back of it and you say magnesium oxide, just think of oxide and oh my God, because it will relax your colon because it relaxes all our muscles, and the colon is a hollow muscle. So it will relax the colon, but it will not do anything for the cascade of different chemical processes that magnesium is supposed to help with in the body. So magnesium, magnesium, magnesium. Magnesium is my first go-to line of defense. If somebody is constipated, I can pretty much put money on the fact that they are magnesium deficient. However, here's the hard part is magnesium is not stored in the blood. And so there isn't really a test, a serum. The stuff you see, the serum or a blood test, is insignificant. And so magnesium is really one of those minerals that you have to go by how you feel. If you have muscle cramps, take magnesium. If you can't sleep well, take magnesium. If you have constipation, take magnesium. If in doubt, get in an Epsom salts bath. The magnesium will absorb into your body through the skin. That's a great way to start. There's magnesium lotions if you're having leg cramps or any sort of cramps. So magnesium, magnesium, magnesium. And people will say, well, how much? And my great phrase is 2 bowel tolerance. Because remember what I said about the magnesium, the colon is a hollow muscle and magnesium relaxes our muscles. So some people are so deficient that they will, like, even if you put a magnesium cream, it will actually sting. It'll start to, and what it is like, your body is soaking it in so quick that it stinks the first couple times you put it on. That's what's remarkable about it. But a lot of people have that restless leg, magnesium. So you start with like 100 milligrams a day. The RDA and everybody, they're recommended at 400 milligrams a day, which can be, when you start out, that can be like you're going to stay home the next day. So you want to just do it slow and steady, but magnesium is an essential mineral for our bodies. The next thing is omega-3s. Now, there's again a couple of just really clear guidelines that I want to make sure that if you're taking an omega-3 and you look at the back of the bottle, it must be, or as close to it as you can, a 2-to-1 ratio of EPA to DHA. So it's icosahexadonic acid and dicosahexadonic. It doesn't really matter, but what you want to look at is EPA to DHA. And as an adult, kids, of course, need more DHA because their brains are still developing. But the reason that I put such a high emphasis on omega-3s is because, number one, it's for brain health. And number two, it's incredible. It's an incredible anti-inflammatory. And so, for example, so this is an artery. This is an inflamed artery. This is an artery with omega-3s in it. So omega-3s are one of those very, very, and we call it essential fatty acids because we don't make them. There is no way for our bodies to make these things, but they're essential for life function. Now, here's the fascinating thing is omega-3s, essential fatty acids, are the outside integrity of every single of our trillion cells in our body. The outside of every single cell is essential fatty acids. So when we don't have enough of that, and that you talk about free radical damage from eating the processed foods and foods that, you know, are maybe a little rancid, which when you get your omega-3, I'm going to say, don't buy your omega-3s at a big box store and there's this big thing of plastic around it and you got these two big jugs like this, because I can assure you that you need small fish. So it's got to be third party tested for purity. But if you open one of those up and you smell it and it goes, and it smells like old fish, it's not good for you. And not only is it not good for you, it actually is causing free radical damage. So it isn't one of those that you're going to take it until it's gone and then you'll get a good one. This is very, very important. So essential fatty acids actually will make the arteries and everything else in our body less inflamed. Win-win. But it's got to be a 2-to-1 ratio of that EPA to DHA. If it isn't, again, then the whole system isn't. And so sadly, the cheaper, the less likely you are to get a good concentration and a good ratio of those things. Moving right along to zinc. Now, zinc, we all know about. If you want to boost your immune system, take some zinc before you have a cold. But I'm in the, let's take it all the time. You don't have to take as much, but I'm suggesting, 15 to 20 milligrams a day. This is recommended. This is research-based. This is not me telling you how much to take. But zinc is one of the precursors to create, that it's essential in order to create collagen. So again, we're like, oh, we're hearing about the fascia, the collagen. These are all the new buzzwords. Our skin and everything else is got a collagen base to it. So zinc has many, many functions in the body. Again, another mineral that is very hard to get in our food. And, it is something to take as a supplement. And then we go into methylated B complex. And if you remember, B is for brain. The B vitamins they have a myriad of wonderful uses, but the big one is the brain and the nervous system. And in today's society, with the amount of stress burns off your B vitamins. And the reason I say methylated is that now we're getting to a point. Was it there before? I'm sure it was. There's a gene, the MTHFR gene, that doesn't allow your body to methylate certain vitamins. And one of the big ones is the B vitamins. So if you buy a methylated B complex, they've done it for you already. So how do you find a good one? When you look at the back of a B complex jar, bottle, or whatever it is, you want to look for a B12 that says methylcobalamin. And then you look down a little bit further and you want to look for folate, not folic acid. So the opposite is the B12, there's one called cyanocobalamin and folic acid. Neither one of them are absorbable by our bodies. They're manufactured in a lab and your body doesn't know what to do with them. So if you see those two things on the back of the label, you can pretty much be assured they're cheaper forms. And so the rest of the vitamins that are in there will also be what I call cheaped off on. And, you know, we get down to that conversation about, oh, you know, it's worthless to take all these vitamins. But if they're the kind that are going to increase your cellular vitality, and you've done the research and you've talked to someone who knows the difference between a good one and a bad one, you can pretty much be assured that you're going to need some of these. There's a couple more of my favorites, and we're going to move on to those. Hang on just a second. There's another one. If you know or you are someone who is taking a statin medication, you must take CoQ10. Now, the research that everybody has heard about is, everybody will say, my heart is fine. I don't need CoQ10. But CoQ10 is really the quarterback of antioxidants. It does so many different things for the body. And if you or someone you know is taking a statin, statins actually leach CoQ10 from the body. And so it's imperative for you to put that back in again. And so yes, the research, most of the research was done on heart tissue, but it's imperative for tissue through the whole body. You know, it's actually an enzyme that helps. Then we go into sugar, and it helps you break down your sugars. It has so many different facets in the body. It's actually part of the HPA axis. That goes from the brain into the pituitary, into the adrenals. You know, it's just one of those integral vitamins that you need to take. And then last but not least is my favorite. I can't tell you, I can't have a conversation. I had it again this morning I was at a meeting and what's your vitamin D? What's your vitamin D? If you don't take any other vitamins, vitamin D3, I'll start with is essential for cognitive functioning. It's essential for your entire immune function. It's one of the big things with inflammation. It heals leaky gut. If you don't have it, you will have leaky gut. It is the number one nutrient that our bodies need. Now, here's what the interesting thing is that, again, I had a patient today who said, oh, my doctor told me my vitamin D was fine. Well, the range for vitamin D is from 30, which basically will prevent rickets, that's about all, up to 100. It's winter, it's the Midwest, you are manufacturing no vitamin D, none. You can't hang your arm out the window of your car. You're not getting any, even on a sunny day. The rays of the sun are not strong enough here until like the end of April in order for the sun to even help manufacture and create vitamin D in your skin. So I want my patients at least at 70. So please, if they've even tested your D3, please go and look, because if you are below 65, you're compromising your immune function. Honest Injun, there's actually research out there and from the National Institute of Health, and they state if your vitamin D is 65 or higher, you are preventing 65% of all cancers. Good enough for me. I mean, I can't tell you how important it is. Now, vitamin D by itself, sadly, won't be what you need. You need D3 with K2. So we'll back up because everybody will say, oh, I can't take that because I'm on a blood thinner. That's K1. They were created by the same researchers, but K2 and K1 don't have anything in common. And you need magnesium. Those three things together are what allow the body to absorb the D3 and calcium. I never would tell anybody to take a calcium supplement, and that is a whole nother discussion. But especially for women out there, just a side note, they're now calling the intake of calcium, and oh, take your calcium, it'll make your bones stronger. They're calling it the 40-year lie. We didn't need to be taking calcium. We needed to be taking D3, K2, and magnesium. That's what unlocks the calcium from the tissue and sends it and directs it into the bone. Okay, so I'm going to put my soapbox away about the vitamin D3, but if you can't get it tested, if your doctor says you can't get it tested, you can actually go online, and there's a website called walkinlab.com, and you can order, you can type up there, it says search for a test, D3. You can choose Quest or LabCorp. Quest in the Midwest is cheaper. I think right now it's like $49. You can order the test on Quest. Quest has their software integrated with it. It'll say, which Quest location do you want to go to? You choose it. What time do you want to go? It prints out a QR code for you. Take it to that Quest location, and you get your results back in your own email within like 48 hours. So I wholeheartedly encourage everyone. I really, at one point, I'm going to get a button maker, and I'm going to have buttons made for everybody that does my retreats and everything else. You should know your vitamin D number like you know your age. So please get your vitamin D tested. Okay, putting the soapbox away, we're going to talk about some foods that are really, really so high in, there's a great new, it's not new, but it's a phrase that's now being bantered around, polyphenols. Polyphenols are foods that are actually anti-inflammatory. And I suggest that you try to put those into everyday what you're eating. And the first one is organic berries. Now, the great thing is that we have a big box store. Mr. Costco is right down the street. And all of those big box stores, they sell organic frozen berries. And buy them, put them into everything that you can possibly put them into. They don't have to be fresh. This time of year, you know those berries are coming from somewhere, somewhere, probably maybe California, but anyway, they're harder for us to get. They're obviously more expensive. So I encourage you just to get the frozen berries and put them in a smoothie, blend them up with a little non-dairy yogurt, have a little smoothie in the afternoon. They're so, number one, they're so filling. They're so full of vitamins. They're just like one of those great antioxidant polyphenol foods that taste good. And you really, there is no upward limit of them. Throw them in your oatmeal, whatever you do. So believe it or not, cherries, frozen Rainier cherries from Washington State, actually have as much or more vital nutrients in them than blueberries, because blueberries are the one that has fiber and everything else. So if you're going to choose two, I would choose blueberries and cherries, believe it or not. Strawberries are one of those, like, if they're not organic, they are always on the dirty dozen. Which means they're extremely sprayed with insecticides, pesticides, and herbicides. And so if you're not buying organic, you're buying insecticides, pesticides, and herbicides. So if you can't get it organic, get the blueberries, get the cherries, organic, but they are if you're going to take a choice between those are the ones that I would choose. Now, the next one, this is like an hallelujah, dark chocolate. Dark chocolate has some essential minerals in it. One of them that we're extremely deficient in, along with magnesium, is manganese. It's a trace mineral, but it is in dark chocolate. So when you go and it says no soy, what does that mean? Well, on the back of your chocolate label, dark chocolate, milk chocolate is a whole different ball game, and I'm not recommending it. But when you look at the back of it, it'll say soy lecithin. And so you want to buy a dark chocolate bar that doesn't have soy lecithin in it. Soy lecithin is a preservative that they put in there and an additive ingredient that'll make the chocolate softer. That's all it does. But it also can create some low-level inflammation in our bodies. Ginger and turmeric. So the new research just out, National Institute of Health clearly states in their research that taking turmeric is more effective in reducing pain, reducing and eliminating pain than NSAIDs, non-steroidal anti-inflammatories, or aspirins, or whatever you want to call them. So turmeric, and the active ingredient is curcumin, is actually more effective in their research studies. So, do you have to take a lot of it? Yeah, you probably have to take like six tablets or 6 capsules a day. But I think, and your gut will thank you, and your whole body system will thank you, turmeric and curcumin are naturally occurring and wonderful, whereas a non-steroidal anti-inflammatory is not. And the other one, the big one, ginger. Shred it, chop it, whatever you have to do, whatever you want. You can put it in salads, you can put it in your green beans, you can put it in your salad dressings. But ginger is one of those great, very, very potent antioxidants. So I love to make, like, I get a knob of ginger. You've seen it at the store and you go, I don't know what to do with this. Peel it as best you can. And then you can cut it up in little chunks and put it in hot water and let it boil for a little bit. Or you can actually get turmeric root also, and you peel it, chop it up, put it in some hot water, let it boil with the ginger for like 5 minutes, put a little lemon juice in there, and you have this great, you strain it, and then you have this great antioxidant tea that you can sip throughout the day. And it reduces your pain in your joints, and you have less inflammation. Awesome. The other one is, I put extra virgin olive oil on here just for the sake of talking about oils, the good monounsaturated oils. So that's your avocado oils. There's actually walnut oils and the olive oils. Don't be afraid of those. Our bodies, again, need fats. Our brains are 75% fats. So if you're cutting down on your fats, you're compromising brain function. So I'm encouraging the embrace of fats like olive oil. Don't spare the olive oil. Collagen powder and bone broth. Now, we again talked about that's the new thing. Collagen will make your nails stronger. It'll make your hair stronger. It will help your joint lubrication and the movement of your joint. Do you have a little give in your joints? Yes. Bone broth, again, helps with rebuilding your collagen, and bone broth will also help heal leaky gut. It'll help replace the mucosal layer in the intestines. So are these a fad thing? No, we're just coming up upon the fact and realization that we might need these things and they're readily available. If you're going to make this is another one of my caveats though, if you're going to make your own bone broth, you must make sure that the bones that you're using are sourced from a cow or chicken or turkey or what kind of bones you want to use, from a grass-fed, grass-raised beef or chicken or whatever. You don't want to be boiling all the toxins out of feedlot beef. So does it taste wonderful when you cook it? Oh, it's great. But you have to use the right stuff. So I say it's much easier to buy a organic beef or whatever kind of bone broth and sipping it like with your lunch. It tastes great. It tastes like liquid roast beef. Right? So, and then the last one is the nuts and seeds. Now, I'm not talking about peanuts because peanuts are not a nut. So my top 3 nuts that I recommend are walnuts, pecans, and almonds. Now, a walnut is another one of those, the hearty brain foods. If you look at a walnut, it looks like a brain. So anytime you can roast some up, put them in the salads, walnuts are one of those go-to foods, and they taste great and they're good for you. So you notice I didn't start this conversation about our foods with the no-nos. I think we've really beat this one up a lot, is the whole gluten and the wheat. Does gluten cause inflammation? Yes. Does gluten cause leaky gut? Yes. And should you eat it? No. And so we can have a whole conversation about wheat and gluten, and people say, well, my doctor tested me and I'm not celiac. Well, celiac is way over here and a profound sensitivity to it. But the rest of us, there's this whole continuum going out over here that have gluten sensitivities. One of the big reasons I argue that these gluten sensitivities are getting so much worse is because, sadly, the wheat now is sprayed with glyphosates, Roundup, before it's even taken and harvested, because it dries it up quicker. So that those glyphosates, the Roundup, whatever you want to call it, is actually in the wheat/gluten that is in the United States. People will actually save up their money, go to the European Union or Italy in the summer, eat all the pasta and bread that they want, and then come back home because they don't use our wheat. And people will say, oh, I just didn't want to hear that. Great, great. But I'm saying that if you're trying to have a vital, energetic, healthy body, that is one of the things that you try it. And you try it for 7 days, your joints won't be as inflamed, you will feel better. Okay. The other one is corn. Corn is just an inflammatory food for all of us. Cow dairy, same thing. Cow dairy is not goat and sheep. You can have all the goat and sheep you want. Sugar, that is like, that's a whole a years-long study. And we all know the FDA even says that we shouldn't be consuming more than 25 grams of sugar in a day. And so when you go to your refrigerator and you look at those little handy dandy soy or those little yogurt cups, there's 24 grams of sugar in most of those. That's it for the day. And so then there's so many other berries, and there's so many other things that will give you that same satiety. That the sugar thing is really something that everybody needs to pay attention to, but that's a whole nother discussion we don't need to go to here. So that's a little bit about you are what you eat. But what I really want to talk about also with that, and what I have found to be remarkable, is that people aren't eating enough food. The big thing these days is intermittent fasting. And people say, oh, I'm intermittent fasting, I'm losing so much weight, it's wonderful. And I'll say, tell me what you're eating when your fast is up. For women, research again has shown that our biggest window for fasting is 14 hours of fasting, 10 hours of eating. Once we go beyond that, now, I will again say, is there a place for true fasting in an issue or with a body? Yes. But for the most part, this day-to-day, this intermittent fasting, interval fasting, whatever you want to call it, and people say, I'm fasting, 14-10 for women is it. Our bodies register that we're in deep stress, we're starving to death, because I'll say, tell me what you start eating when you eat at 11 o'clock. Oh, I'm on my way to yoga, I'll just grab a bar. So in those 10 hours that you're supposed to be consuming all these calories, you are supposed to be, now take a look at this. This is calories by age, and this is just some numbers that I have gleaned over the research that I've done. And if you're not familiar, the circle with a plus sign underneath it is female. And so you choose, if you're under 31, congratulations. And you should be upwards of 1,900 calories. This is minimum calories that make your body run. And so I can talk about these numbers, but what I'd really like you all to do is get Mr. Google out and take a look for a couple days. Just doesn't have to be anything crazy, but you say, how many calories are in a cup of oatmeal? Not that many. How many calories are there in a cup of broccoli? Not that many. And so we have a distorted view of how many calories we're really consuming in a day. Look at the ones for men, 31 to 50, 2,200 to 2,400, and even over 50, 2,000 to 2,200 calories. There is no way that we are, as a people, consuming that many calories. Because if you're eating nutrient dense foods, it takes a lot of food to get to those caloric numbers. Like you can eat one Whopper and probably get to 1,800 calories. I don't know how much they are, or one of these frothy Frappuccino things from Venti Frappuccino things. You can get there really quickly, but you're not eating nutrient dense, yummy food. And even with the nuts, if you type in, if you look at half a cup of nuts, walnuts specifically, because I love those, you have to eat a lot of those to get to a half a cup. And number one, there really are not that many calories in it for the amount of fiber and fats you're getting. So hopefully this is like, we're not eating enough food. And so caloric restriction comes in. Is it important if you want to lose weight? Yes. But the thing is that you should be cutting down gradually the amount of calories that you're taking in. But the things that should not be and should actually be increased for a majority of people are your protein, your fiber, and your fats. And people will say, oh, fiber, I poop just fine. And fiber and pooping, like the benefits of fiber, pooping is number 5 or number 6. Fiber is actually one of the most important things to keep your cholesterol down. Everybody talks about oat bran. Well, the reason that everyone is talking about oat bran and cholesterol is because it keeps your fats down. It isn't necessarily oat bran. It's the idea that it's a fiber. So insoluble, soluble, we need a great blend of them. And no, it doesn't come from, and people say, oh, I'm just gonna mix in some Metamucil. Here's the problem with Metamucil and all these other colon softeners and stool softeners and everything else is, again, we go back to that colon. The colon is a hollow muscle. And so if you don't use that muscle, which the peristalsis is like a motion like this, it squeezes and pushes for good reason. So if you give something else in there all the time that doesn't make it work anymore, it'll go, okay, go ahead. And after a while, it won't work. And it'll say, then you have to take those things. So if you are at a point and you are in need of something like a Metamucil or, Senna or one of these things, we really have to back the train up and say, okay, are you eating enough fiber in order to help your gut, the microbiome, ferment the right way? People say, I don't want anything fermenting. I'm going to have gas. And it's not the way it works. But there's a reason that you're constipated, and it certainly isn't a deficiency in one of this Metamucil or Citracal or one of these other things. There's a problem with your food intake that your body isn't able to eradicate itself. So that's another thing. Call me, we can take care of it, but you should be pooping once a day. So I say poop is down on the list, but you should be pooping once a day. Okay, so then we've talked about our calories, we've talked about our nutrients, we've talked about our vitamins, what we should be eating in order to keep this little 70, we're 75% water. So I just call us, we're this big bags of water just kind of floating around, and we look pretty good, but we're basically just water, and we need to have our water, and we need to be nutrient dense bags of water. So the last thing I want to talk about tonight is actually sleep. And for years, I probably have never really been one of these people, but I have sure heard a lot of them. And people will say, oh, I get by on 4 hours of sleep a night. I can handle it, no problem. Well, if you look at these little factoids that have just come to light, so to speak, again, sleep is there's been a spotlight put on it greatly. Poor sleep, the cause of cardiovascular disease, obesity, high blood pressure, diabetes, and hence why we're getting all these CPAP machines and everything else is because people are having a hard time sleeping. And a lot of times snoring is because they've got so much mucus from cow dairy and sugar. So you can see how everything is sort of interrelated. It is interrelated, not sort of, it is interrelated, but we can understand why we've got this new emphasis on sleep. So another one, look at this one, 5 hours of sleep or less, you are increasing your risk of dementia by 50%. 50%. That right there is enough for me to really start paying attention, if I wasn't already, my sleep habits. Sleep improves how your body drains your lymphatic fluids. This is fascinating. They now know, I guess, everybody says, well, why did this come up now? Well, we didn't have really the technology to get this fine of a microscope and see things in the brain. We now know that there's a lymph drainage system in the brain, and it's called the glymphatic system. And I mean, you can imagine these are hair-like filaments that are next to the single cell capillary action of the brain, right? Because there are toxins that can pass the blood-brain barrier. And then what does your body do with them? We didn't know for a long, long time. Also the thing they didn't know was the brain can actually shrink by 25 to 30%. So the brain at night, when you're sleeping enough, actually squeezes the toxins into this glymphatic system. And then the glymphatic system is part of the lymphatic system, which movement and our fascia help us get rid of, because the lymphatic system doesn't have a pump of its own. And that's why it's so important to move and to get this whole system like draining. But we have a whole system in our brains that we really didn't know about. So look that up if you're curious about it. It's called the glymphatic system. And that system drains at night during our deep sleep cycles, which you're not getting if you're getting less than 5 hours of sleep a night. And the other one is, so many people, like they'll sit in their chair at night. It's pretty typical MO. They sit in their chair at night. So they're sitting like this. They fall asleep. They'll sleep in that chair for a couple hours. Then they'll get up, hopefully, and then they go into bed. And then they have this fragmented sleep cycle. And again, that does not bode well for the health of your brain and your body. And so I encourage you all to create a little bit better. It's one of my favorite phrases this year, sleep hygiene. So this is just so much fun. So the first thing I want you to do, because now it's dark out, is before you go to bed tonight, go into your bedroom, turn off the light, and prepare. Just stand there so you don't trip on anything, or, we don't want you to hurt yourself, but turn off the light and wait for a couple minutes for your eyes to adjust. And you're going to look around your room, and all of a sudden you're going to realize that it's lit up in there like Grand Central Station. Most people, they have light like shining up like underneath their curtains. They have the digital clock on their nightstand. Why do you have that? It's this glow that goes all night. We don't need those anymore. You take your smartwatch or whatever it is, you put it into your bathroom, which is usually right off the bedroom, and you're going to get up and go to the bathroom during the night and go and look. What does it really matter what time it is, right? Unless you say, oh, I got up at 3 o'clock and I couldn't go back to sleep. Take all that stuff out of your bedroom. If your shades aren't dark enough, get room darkening shades. If you have the electrical strip behind your bed and it's going, get some duct tape, wrap it around that light. If you have a, any sort of sensors or anything else in your bedroom, cut out a piece of duct tape and just cover up that light. That ambient light will keep you in a not restful sleep. Again, research shows it. So your room should be pitch black. If you need a night light, then put one right outside the door and have it movement, a sensor, so that if you're asleep, you don't need to get up. If you need to get up, then the sensor will turn on a little bit of a night light and make sure that it's low, not real bright, because again, you don't want to be woken up out of this quasi sleep. So the next one is this blue light. Blue light is what the sun makes in the middle of the day, and it will signal that you're getting up for the day again. So everybody, not everybody, but a lot of people will go to bed and say, oh, I read on my Kindle before I go to sleep. So even if it has a blue light blocker, much better. But a lot of them don't. Or a lot of people will go to and they'll say, oh, I leave my TV on and just fall asleep. And then I wake up in the middle of the night and the TV's still on. Blue light. So whatever you're doing, like I suggest that you turn off blue lights at least a half an hour, if not an hour, before you really need to go to sleep. Next one, cool temperature. Your body will respond better if it doesn't have to keep cooling your body because it's too hot in the bedroom. So figure that out. After it's pitch black, you want to be cool. The other one is the caffeine thing. If you have trouble going to sleep and staying asleep, move your caffeine back. And those people that have to have that afternoon caffeine, that pick me up to get me through the afternoon, we really have to back up and talk about why you're that tired, right? So, it's backing this whole thing up and going, wait, why do I need that much caffeine? And why do I need it that late in the day just to keep me awake? Maybe you haven't had enough vitamins, or maybe you haven't had enough good green vegetables and everything else. We don't know, but you do. So the last one is the whole protein thing. If you are waking up during the night on a regular basis, you might be having low blood sugar. And so if this is a pattern for you, try out some different things, like a little handful of nuts in some non-dairy yogurt, protein, a tablespoon of almond butter, not peanut butter, but just a tablespoon of almond butter, or maybe a couple slices of sheep cheese or goat cheese, and see if that doesn't prolong your restful sleep. So again, sleep is one of those things that for a long, long time, we didn't really pay as much attention to, and it was just part of our daily routine. And now we know, along with taking there are a couple of nutrients that I would also suggest that will help with this whole getting to sleep thing. But for me, I look at it as almost a hobby, that I think that people really need to pay more attention to their sleep. If there's one area that sounds like, oh, this might be easy, always pick the easiest thing to do. Like if you don't want to go get a bunch of vitamins other than vitamin D3 and magnesium and K2, the next thing is focus on your sleep surroundings, your hygiene, your sleep hygiene, taking a nice warm bath before you go to bed with Epsom salts, knock you out. Great. Now, there are some nutrients that we can also talk about. And the first one, again, is magnesium. Taking magnesium before bedtime is a great way to relax your whole system. And again, I suggest 2 bowel tolerance. So if it's 1 magnesium capsule, great. Just try it. And again, it's nothing's going to work instantly, but you're on the right track. Now, the other one, and I hear this so often, oh, I've taken melatonin and it doesn't help. Believe it or not, melatonin is another one of it's a hormone, and it's actually a hormone that helps with our immune system. And there are some doctors that are recommending it to take it throughout the day. But what happens with our circadian rhythm is our cortisol, which is a naturally occurring hormone, is should be the highest when we wake up in the morning. That's what wakes us up. So the cortisol then decreases as the day goes on into the evening. And so then this decrease is what signals our naturally occurring melatonin to kick in. And so our melatonin should be at our highest, like at midnight. The cortisol should be at its lowest, and then they come down, and the cortisol wakes you up the next morning, and the melatonin decreases. So at this crisscross in the evening, you've had dinner, you're sitting watching TV, or you're reading a book or whatever else, and you go, oh, I'm getting kind of tired. That's your cue that your melatonin is kicking in. And that's believe it or not, within 1 hour, you should be in your bed, ready for sleep. And everybody goes, oh, I got too much other stuff to do, or I don't want to go to bed that early, or whatever. And so the body responds and it says, okay, well, if you're not going to take in this melatonin, the melatonin drops off, the cortisol kicks back in again, and the cortisol will come up with a little bump, and it'll be 2 to 3 hours before that cortisol bump is out of your system again, which for most people is like noon, midnight, or 1 o'clock in the morning. And they go, yeah, that's when I usually go to bed. But the thing is that you're not going to get that melatonin to kick back in again. So you stay in this restless sleep cycle for the rest of the night. And there's poor sleep for you. So I suggest not as much melatonin as people have been taking. I've seen capsules at the store which are 30 and 40 and 50 milligrams. Well, that's just way too much for your body to process. I suggest trying like 5 milligrams an hour before you're going to go to bed, so that you start helping. Because as we age, our melatonin levels do decrease. So we all know that we've outlived our bodies at this point, and a lot of our systems in our bodies haven't caught up with how long we're living. So you might have to add in a little bit more melatonin in order to get to sleep and stay asleep. And then the last one that I recommend is meditation. And we've heard a lot about it. I suggest a guided meditation, because then someone else is talking you through this. It can be 5 minutes, but it really does such remarkable things to the brain and the delta, the alpha, the theta, all the different brain waves in the body, and drops you into your parasympathetic state that your body can relax. And it's quick, it's easy. There's all kinds of free ones all over the internet. Go on YouTube or type in on your computer, relaxing or sleepy meditations, guided meditations, and you will get so many. And what I suggest is you listen to them ahead of time, not when you're getting ready for bed, because if you hear an irritating voice, just the voice tonation or whatever else, it's sure not going to help you sleep. So I hope that I have given you a new outlook and some new theories about these things that we've heard. We've heard these things day in and day out for so many years, but now there's this great new research about what is actually going on in the body, and new things that we didn't know before. We didn't really know how important the fascia was. We didn't really know how essential some of these nutrients are to our bodies, and that we know we aren't getting them and we are deficient in them. And, especially in the Midwest, our soil is fairly depleted of a lot of these minerals, magnesium and zinc and everything else. And we're actually a lot of our food is not sourced from this area. So it's important that we add these things back in. And the same with the quality food. The typical bagel with cream cheese for breakfast, or toast for breakfast, and then, maybe a salad, a bag salad for lunch, and then maybe chicken breast with something for dinner. That is not enough to keep these happy little bodies happy. So, I don't know what that looks like to you. Buy a new cookbook, go online, look up some new recipes, find some soups that are so nutrient dense. It's a new year. It's a time to explore new avenues for ourselves. And you know, I always look at this time of year. Is this the time of year to do a detox? No. This is our nice hibernating, loving ourselves up, you know, going to bed earlier, taking care of ourselves, being nice and gentle with ourselves. We don't have enough good greens and everything else in order to do, you know, juicing and everything else. Wait till spring. I'm going to run people through a detox. I do it every spring. You know, wait till spring. This is the time to be nice to yourself. We've come through our holiday season. Nice and gentle is my phrases for the new year. And then, of course, the sleep. Let's just try. I mean, make this another one of your goals. You know, 7 hours, 8 hours. Holy cow. You won't believe how fresh and invigorated you are the next day. So I hope that this presentation has given you some new things to think about, to maybe talk with your friends about. Of course, I encourage everybody. I'm a research geek. I don't say anything that I haven't read about and researched. But it's all out there. You know, Mr. Google knows everything. And so I encourage you to be your own advocate and to actually jump into a vital life that brings you into great health as you get older, and that you have longevity and happiness as we move along. So again, I'm Candace Lawrence. These are all the ways to get a hold of me. I have a fun podcast. It's called the Queen Bee Club Podcast. We did like 6 or 7 episodes in 23. And so we've got a couple more. We're going to start putting out some more in 24. So you can find us on Apple and Spotify. If you have any questions, that's my email. That's my website down there. If you would like to book schedule a one-on-one appointment, I have 2 offices in Naperville. So I try to make myself as accessible as possible. I do Zoom. I just want everybody to feel as fabulous as you possibly can. So I really thank you all. We're going to have time for some questions. So thank you. And thank you for giving me the opportunity. And thanks for coming on tonight. I know we had a little bit of a switch. So thanks for being flexible.
Thank you, Candace. That was awesome and very informative. We do have a couple questions in the chat that I wanted to bring up while we still have you on the line.
Sure.
We have someone, Susie, asking, how often do you think that we should test our vitamin D levels?
Oh, at least twice a year. At least twice. I like 3 times a year. Of course, this is a great time to test it because we're in the dark night of the deepest, darkest of the winter. So this is when, if you're taking vitamin D and it's still low, you know you need more. So you should start working on really getting yourself built back up again. And then like in March or April, compare, or even before that, compare and see how well you did. And then we should do one midsummer to see how much your body is actually absorbing. And then, you know, the 2 times a year would be winter and summer. But if you do one winter, early spring, and then summer, those would be the 3 that I would do.
Awesome. Thank you. And then Christine had a question. The 25 grams of sugar that we're talking about having, 25 grams of sugar a day, does that include fruit/natural sugars?
No, it does not. It's anything, any processed sugars, anything, I call it anything with a label.
Awesome. Let's see. What do you recommend for a daily vitamin? What brand?
Oh, I can tell you that I'm actually I'm in the great search for a new brand. But when you're looking for a new brand of a multivitamin, doesn't it make sense that it's organic? Because if it's not organic, they've used everything on the planet, anything that they can possibly, the cheapest, excuse my French, crappiest stuff they can, are in those vitamins. And you know, people will say about these gummy bears and these gummies and these gummies, and oh, I love my gummies. Artificial flavorings, artificial preservatives, you name it, is in those. So my go-to right now is from Garden of Life. It's called Kind Organic. And there's one, it's called Women's Once Daily High Energy. And they also have a Men's Once Daily High Energy. So it's Kind Organic, a women's or a men's, and the parent company is called Garden of Life. Garden of Life was bought, just full disclosure. I think they were bought like a couple years ago. Either Nestle bought them. I think it was Nestle bought that company. So, you know, I always, every time I buy my new vitamins, I always look in the back because remember what I told you about that B12. If it says methylcobalamin, they're still holding on to some quality in those. But that's my brand.
Great. And then a couple people were wondering if we could share the slides with everyone that participated. Your slides, or
well,
is there a handout or something?
Well, I'll tell you what I can do, Christina. I can send you the PDF, and then you can distribute that out to everybody.
Okay. That would be awesome. I will, once I get that, I will send that out to everyone that was registered.
Great.
And then one more question just came through. Susie wanted to know, how do you feel about kefir when it is from cow's milk?
Oh, I really like kefir from goat milk. You know, if you look at all those kefirs at the store, man, the cow dairy ones, they are full of sugar. And, you know, again, is it going to rebuild gut flora? Maybe. Is it going to cause inflammation in your body? Yes. So I think that if I was going to have kefir, which I do, I have goat kefir. It's right there next to all the cow dairy stuff. That's my theory.
Awesome.
You know, goat, you know, for those of you that are still on the call, cow dairy protein crystals, if you see them live in blood, which I have seen, I've had that opportunity, they're huge. They look like Klingon warships, and they're all spiky and everything else. They're huge. We are not designed to digest cow dairy proteins. We just aren't. Goat cheese and goat anything or sheep, they're very, very small and very, very easy for us to break down. We're not designed to drink cow dairy and eat cheese. Sorry to tell you.
All right. And then Rita just popped in and asked, did you say no methylcobalamin? Or what kind of methylcobalamin?
No, I said yes. Yes to
yes.
Methylcobalamin is a form of B12 that your body can break down.
Okay, and Cassandra wanted to know if you could clarify again the magnesiums, the two magnesiums that you want.
Yeah, magnesium citrate and glycinate are the two most absorbable. So if you find one that is a combo of citrate, glycinate, and orotate, great. So any of those are the best.
Okay, and then Mary wanted to know if you could clarify once again the ratio of the EPA, DHA, and the omega-3s.
Yeah, it should be as close to 2-to-1 as you can get it. And I might as well pull it in a plug for my favorite tasty stuff. It's called Barlean's. And then Barlean's has a whole bunch of them. Luckily, we live in the land of fruitful yield. If you go to the one in Naperville.
Wonderful.
Yeah, if you go to the one in Naperville, you turn to the left, walk all the way to the back, you'll see this huge cooler full of all kinds of Barlean's products. So you have to read the labels really closely. You want the Barlean's high potency omega swirl. And that one is the closest 2-to-1 ratio of any I found. And you'll really know you're in the right place because it usually says like 1,500 on the front label. And there's only 3 flavors. So there's key lime, which is awesome. Citrus sorbet, which tastes like an orange dreamsicle. And the newest one is like mango pineapple or something. And all 3 are phenomenal, but those are the only 3 flavors. So you know you've gotten the right one. and a tablespoon a
All
day,
right.
two tablespoons a day, divide it up. Awesome.
Right. Great. I think that covers all of our questions. So I think we
Okay.
are good. I really do appreciate the time and taking the extra time to answer these questions.
Of course.
You've been super helpful, and I think we have to end the call so we can all go to bed.
Okay. Yeah, go to bed.
Go to bed. All right. Thank you so much, everybody, for joining.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Bye. Thank you, Candace.
Thank you, Christina. So good. Maybe we can get together sometime soon.
I would love to do that. Definitely. Let's make that happen.
You bet. Take care.
All right. Take care. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.